Hello, hello. Welcome back to this week's episode of I'm Set the Podcast. We have guests this week. I'm so excited to be joined by one of my favorite couples, Theresa and Dwayne Bowe. Dwayne was a first-round draft pick to the Kansas City Chiefs. He is married to my girl, Theresa Bowe. They have been married going on 5 years. They have 2 children, and we're going to set the record straight on this episode.
Let's set it straight.
Welcome, welcome, you guys. You know, we really are excited to have you guys on here. I think it just worked out so perfectly because, of course, Dwayne spent most of your career in Kansas City, and here we are with the Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl for the 4th time, I believe, or 3rd time. Yep. So we really wanted to ask you about that. And, you know, Theresa, you can speak on this as well because obviously you've been there from the get-go. How does it feel to watch Patrick Mahomes go off and you're looking, I mean, your 2010 and 2011 season with the Chiefs, amazing. You had one game, I think, where you had over 180 yards receiving, and you guys still lost the game. Still lost the game. You had 3 touchdowns, I believe. No, 2 touchdowns that game, but still lost the game. So you're watching that. I know Matt Castle was your quarterback at that time. And I know you got to be thinking, like, what if?
I mean, shout out to Kansas City. Let me take my hats off. I wouldn't take it back in nothing in the world. You know, the relationships I built with the 15 quarterbacks I had was amazing. But to actually see a team that can raise a young man, a young boy to be a man, a leader, a group of men to multiple championship, that shows you something about the organization. And Kansas City run a first-class organization. I was extremely happy to be drafted by them, and I met my lovely wife over there, and we just, been setting the record straight ever since.
Nice. Theresa, how was that for you? Because obviously you were holding it down at the home. You know, you had to have seen his frustration coming home, because I'll be honest. I looked at your numbers, and you were putting up A.J. Brown numbers. And we see the difference that it is for A.J. Brown from going to Tennessee to the Eagles, where he has a real quarterback.
Right.
So how was that for you?
Married to a man, and even dating him at the time, Dwayne doesn't show frustration. He went through all the seasons, all the ups and downs, and I mean, you wouldn't know what he was going through at work, at home. He never bring it home. And that was like one of my reasons for loving him. He wasn't that guy that had a losing Sunday and came home and took it out on the household. He was the same whether he won or whether he lost. So it was easy, honestly.
So let's take it back just a little bit. How did you guys meet?
You want the real story?
Yes, we want the real.
Set the record straight.
I sit up for this.
Yeah. First, we be assigned different agents, different financial advisors. So they hooked me up with this one lady, and it was like, you need to buy a house for me, I'm like, I don't really know her like that. I don't want to give her all my money on the house. And they was like, trust me, she gets all the guys, whoop, whoop. I'm like, all right, bet. I get off the plane, and then I see her. I'm like, okay, who is this? This is not the lady y'all told me, And she was trying to get me to go buy a big, crazy house. And at this time, I ain't had that much money. I had a little bit of money. I was like, I don't know. I think she's trying to, finesse me into getting a big crib. But I went with the other lady, and she never showed frustration. She said, all right, I'll get you on the next one. And I bought my next
That's the
house
typical athlete. They don't buy from the black realtor. It goes to the other. So I'm gonna be real on that because there's so many athletes that question if black realtors are in it for money. White realtors are in it for money. I mean, that's our job. That's what we do. But like he said, I lost on that one. I didn't sell him the home, and I was salty. But I had to remain professional. Luckily, I got to sell him probably like 4 more after that. So, Candy, I know you're watching this. I won.
So, what attracted you to Theresa?
Really, Bo?
Nah, it was her booty and her brain. I call it Bab. She had a little bit of Bab in her. And once I seen the spunk and just the independency, the way she wake up and just go grind, I haven't seen no woman do that in my 23 years of living before I met her, and I was like, okay, she's not really into the hype like that. She don't go out too much. When she do go out, they showing her love, so she got to be somebody. So you want to be with somebody, you got to be somebody. So I made you somebody. So we good.
Hey. Okay, so it was the hustle. She had that get up and go about herself. Now, what was it that attracted you to Bowe?
To be honest, I didn't look at Bowe like that at first because, just the athlete, just the first round draft pick. I had a hair salon in Kansas City, and literally, like, the girls would sit in my chair and talk about him, and I'm like, ooh. So I hooked one of my girlfriends up with his friend, and I started going over to his house. And we just became friends. It was still nothing. Then I met his family, and his family like loved me. And it was like, "Oh my God, you are perfect for my nephew." And I was like, "Oh, but he's not perfect for me." He was just out there, and I knew it. But I think the years of friendship, we really, really started as friends. It was like no, nothing. I was in a relationship. He was in a relationship. We didn't go there. And after we both broke up with our partners, still nothing. But we just was around each other, and it really just turned like one thing went to the next, and we had a son. And one thing I always want to tell people about Bowe, when I got pregnant, and it's like, this is like so amazing. Like when I think back to this, I got pregnant with our son and I wasn't ready for a child. And I'm like, I know he's not ready for a child either, but he surprised me. He said, look, we did this. I want you to get rid of your place and we're going to move in and we're going to do this together. And I was like, so I had to go talk to all of my friends. I'm like, yeah, what do I do? But, just for him to be a young athlete at the time and to even think to take that major step to make something permanent, that's when I knew like I had something special.
So that's a major key is starting as friends, having the friendship, mutual respect, seeing qualities in one another outside of sex. So you guys were able to make a connection that was tried because you didn't complicate things.
1,000%.
Love it. Okay, so Kansas City. Now we have Kansas City going to the Super Bowl. And you talked about having 15 different quarterbacks. If you were in a situation, where do you think you're in a situation where Patrick Mahomes was your quarterback, where do you think your career would have gone, could have gone?
Be honest.
Be honest, man. If I had Pat, man, I can't even. Like I had dreams at first, but it's like if I really would have had him, I really can't. I might not be as humble as I am. 'Cause a lot of guys that did what I did, they're not humble. It's like the hype got to them. I was like right in the middle of the pack, so it kept me level in between. Every season, guys that's at the plateau, they normally, have little issues, at home or some with the family. I was like just smooth sailing. I don't know if that's how God set it up for me, but I had an okay season. I had a great season. No injuries. The winning wasn't there, but the production and the money was good.
Yeah, but I think it wasn't just about Pat Mahomes either because like the coaching situation was really turbulent in Kansas City. I think you probably had like 5 or 6 different head coaches. Romeo Cannell for like a season and a half maybe. And that was like the worst statistical season for the Chiefs ever in history. Yeah. So, you got to see that every year you have to like learn probably a new offensive scheme. So Andy Reid gets there in 2013, I believe. January 2013 is when he gets hired. And what was your relationship like with Andy Reid?
Big Red, he was a father figure. That's why a lot of guys could play for him because he let you be yourself. He wants to meet your family. He wants to get involved to make you be as more yourself than anybody when you walk in the building. And I think if a lot of coaches take that approach and let guys, come in and talk about what's going on at home, just open up and be able to vent and cry, I think it'd be a lot of more great productions with a lot of coaches. Andy is like a real father figure to a lot of guys, like past that played and that's not even on his team no more. He's still, like, we still contact with him. And he's been the same. His wife's been the same. Mm-hmm. So it starts
with leadership. Like, him and his wife came in there and they exuded leadership. And the whole time we was in Kansas City, I never experienced that just being on the side of him, and I didn't watch him experience that at all. It was no camaraderie amongst like the coaches and the players when it came to leadership. Tammy and Andy came in there, and it was just like I never was involved in any of the wife situations, but she was pulling you at the games like, listen, you are coming to my house, and we're gonna get to know each other. And at her house, she was teaching us how to be better wives and better women to our men, and it was things that I didn't think about. Being
Can
his,
you give an example?
just as far as like the pressure that we put on guys, these guys, being jealous, just, just in their ear all the time, like not helping them focus, instead like making it about us. And she explained to us how this is a business. And it's like you want to help your partner be the best businessman at this, not worrying about like, what they're doing.
New shoes,
Yeah.
new this. Let's
But
go here.
she's amazing, man. They're both amazing, hands down.
Speaking on that, how do you draw the line between not being a nag and, applying the pressure when you should? Like knowing that, listen, yes, I want you to succeed and be an amazing athlete and loved by the NFL and your team, but you're not going to walk all over me. So how do you draw that line?
It's timing. Every issue does not need to be addressed immediately, and it's how you address it. So I remember Denisha said one time, "What do you want to win, the fight or the war?" Right? And when she said that, I'm like, wow. So many people look to win a fight, but it's like if you're looking at a bigger picture, you want to win the war. It's like you handle things differently. So I always tell people you could set yourself up to win, or set yourself up to lose. It's the same thing in your relationship. So to answer your question, is all about timing. Like your man did something that you feel disrespected by, slighted by. You don't wait till he gets around all his friends to embarrass him, or you don't go to the game and just let everybody know what's going on in your life. It's just about timing, and it's about addressing the problem at the right time, not when you're heated, when he's not going to receive it. It's more so waiting until he will receive it, when you guys are on good terms. And people always address bad things at the bad time. So it was just like, she taught us that also, how to learn, to learn our partners and just address things at the right times. And it works. So shout out to Tammy Reed, man. She is one hell of a woman.
Tammy.
Okay, so T, we know that you are a boss lady, right? You've been a boss, and when you met him, you was a boss. But did you feel like you had to sacrifice any of that to push him into who he is today?
No, I did not. It was mainly because of who Bowe was. Every man is not like Bowe. Every woman is not like me. And it's just like I was fortunate to find someone that supported me 100%. So he never tried to stop me from my dreams. And I watched that. I see so many athletes and their wives, and I watch the wives listen to the man say, don't do anything but sit home. It's a choice. So I didn't have to make that choice or make it, it was a no decision, because my husband was like, what do you want to do? Oh, you want to start a clothing line? Here's 50,000. Go try this. Or, are you doing this? Like, he would put money behind me, without me asking. Everything I've done, he supported. So it's just like you have to find a partner that's going to support you, period. Like if you don't have that supportive partner, man or woman, your relationship is going to fail, and you're going to see it when football is over.
Now, I will say that this relationship dynamics are different, right? And this is a huge blessing to have someone that is supportive. And not just supportive, but willing to, invest in you. There are relationships out here where you have the women, and they can't even decorate their homes. They can't even paint, the walls a new color, just because they are stifled. So you have, like you said, you saw in him that ability for him. He was willing to push you and allow you to do what you were doing because he had never been around a woman like you. And so that right there is amazing. It's a testament to who each of you are, for him to be able to push you and love the fact that you are that hustler, that go-getter, that get up and want to make it happen.
How did you find, no, it's okay. How did you find that trust level to say, okay, I am going to back you in any venture, because here, like she says, here's $50,000 to invest with a clothing line. Because a lot of men will listen to their significant others and say, well, I'm not sure what's she here for. How did you find that trust level with Theresa?
I found it with, praying, first of all, asking God to send me somebody level-headed. And my family made it easier, too, when they fell in love with her. And just to see how my family trusted her when I wasn't around, I was like, well, let me just try a little. And that little turned into a pile. And she's been on it ever since. So
It's like when I hear him talk like that, I know a lot of it had to do with him meeting me and me being an entrepreneur as well. So he already saw that I was a risk taker when he met me. So it's not like he was experimenting with somebody that was experimenting. So he walked into me being a businesswoman. I left New York and I was like a businesswoman. I had no choice. I was raised off of survival. And my husband seen the journey. And it's just like, this makes me emotional because, like you said, a lot of women don't get this. And there's so many men that hold their women back. There's so many men that hold it, vice versa. But it's just, I just really encourage people to push their partners to do more because football is so short. It's people that only last a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you think it's forever. And like when football is over, it's a whole different side of life. It's completely different.
Okay, so we want you both to speak on that. How has retired life been for the both of you?
It's been good for me. I ain't gonna lie. I'm actually getting to do something I never did before, and that's to be a great husband, a great father, a great family man, and still be able to, interact with some of my old teammates from time to time. I think a lot of guys get caught up when they're done. They still want to live the lifestyle that they was living while they was playing. Clubbing every night, spending 20, 30,000. It's like once you got a family and you got a foundation, you have to build on that and not, retract on your old life. And that's what I tell some of the guys that I mentor. You have to look ahead and not keep reminiscing what you did in 2008 because that's gone. That ain't coming back. And once you look in front of you and you see a foundation, I think it's easier to block out the distractions and, just be with your partner.
I do appreciate like Bowe is a totally different man than he was when he was in the league. I think so many of us women pray for that wholesome guy, that guy that have time for us, that guy that put us first, that guy that pick us over the club, that guy. And you don't have it sometimes when your guy is active. And since his career had been over, like he has truly turned into an amazing father. Like he spends so much time with his kid. He make me look like I ain't doing enough. I'm like, wait a minute now.
It's my turn, baby. You
Yeah,
did it.
so
You did it. You did it in 10 years. I got you. I got your back.
I mean, it's that part is like the true blessing. And secondly, I think it has taught us and showed us like true friendships because our phone would not stop ringing anytime we were doing anything. Like we had to like tell people that we're not doing something so people wouldn't come around. Now it's like the phone don't ring like that. I'm like, dang, post career people will fall off. So I think for us, having real friends around us that really are for us has been a blessing as well.
100%.
Speaking on what you said, Dwayne, about leaving the past behind, we see like in recent news, John Morant has an issue with one of his boys, and how do you speak on that? Like, how was it for you to know like these are the friends that I can't take with me to the NFL and further?
It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. Especially if you're a real genuine person and these guys been in your corner before the money. It's kind of you really have to have a life coach to sit down or a counselor to sit down with those group of men, and you have to just tell them there's certain doors you can't go in no more. If your hair like that, if you're dressing like that, I can't take you. And once you make over $5 million a year, you can't bring nobody from the hood up with you. It's just that's how it go. A lot of people are scared to leave that because they got to go back to their hood, and people look at them like, oh, he's not giving back. He's not. But if you're trying to get to the higher, you got to tell them like, I'm gonna come back and get you. Let me go handle this. I'll be back. But it's very, very hard when you have a genuine heart. Very hard.
But do you think those friends feel entitled to go with you because they feel like they've been with you for so long and they knew you before you got the fame, before you got the money, before you got the influence? Do you think it's a sense of entitlement?
100% sense of entitlement. I think they just, from the dreams that we were selling our friends since we was little, like, but when I make it, I'm gonna take care of you, but don't worry, just make sure you got my back. I think that right there really sticks in their head, and it's nothing that nobody could tell them, the girlfriend, the wife, baby mama. It's nothing. My boy say he gonna take care of me when he make it. And they really hold on to that. They stop motivating themselves once you tell them that. And it's now they gonna be in your pocket, they gonna make you feel obligated, they gonna spread the news around the hood. Like, it's a very tough situation, but you have to learn how to love and let go.
Now, T,
Nothing is ever enough when it comes to the support of friends and family. Once you make it, nothing is ever enough. But what was your question?
But do you feel like, okay, knowing who you married, right, and you know this is your partner, and when it comes to like friends and when it comes to people, do you feel like you have to be like the eyes and ear for him?
Definitely. My husband has a hard time saying no. And if I know that as his wife, his friends that's been around him longer than me and his family that knows him better than me, they know that as well. And because even as I sit here and talk about how supportive he is and just like how he is, everyone knows that and they play on him. So a lot of times they wait and they get him in a vulnerable state where he could talk about things that he can't do and then they ask him. And I definitely, my husband blames things on me a lot. Like, oh, my wife said, and I'm like, oh God. Yeah. But I get it. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. And I do what I have to do because at the end of the day, it's like, we have kids that's small. We have colleges that we got to think about. And no one's going to think about that but us.
So you guys were on a television show, and we got to see you being vulnerable. You learned parts about your wife that you didn't know. We saw a whole initiative. Let's talk about how that was for you guys to be on that show. Whose idea was it? Of course.
Well, actually, Bowe had a publicist, and she called with the opportunity. But once I saw what the show was, because prior to that, I was behind the scenes. I didn't want to be seen, heard. I was like driving his foundations, his businesses, our businesses, like from behind. No one saw, heard, or knew who Theresa really was. When this opportunity came about, and I realized that it was something that could potentially help our relationship, I was all in. I was like, wait a minute, what? Counseling? Black people don't think we need counseling? Especially a macho man with these muscles and all of that money in his pocket. He like, wait a minute, I'm good.
Counseling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we needed it, and a lot of people need counseling. And I think like if we take off that, macho personality or who we think we are, like we all need help. And I mean, it was
Right.
me, and it helped us. It didn't hurt us.
100%. And I think every guy post career should go through counseling. It's not even a question because what you was seeing and what you was living, like my wife always tell me, you wasn't in real life. Now that I'm done, I'm seeing real life. I'm like, wow, this what you was going through, this what you seen, this what they said. And it's like, dang, now I get to really reinvent and really learn more about my wife than I did when we was dating. So I think every guy, gal should do counseling. Take away the stereotype. It's not bad. If you want to stay together, pray together, live long together, you need counseling.
What do you say to guys like Tom Brady and LeBron James who just can't seem to let the sport go? And then you see, the perception, and we don't know what happened in Tom's marriage, but the perception is him and his wife got a divorce because he don't want to stay home.
Like I said, you have to have somebody supportive, somebody who's ready to give. And I know she probably gave a lot, but that is Tom Brady. So
She's
it's like
Giselle.
Giselle, she is Giselle. So, their situation we really don't know, but I'm just glad.
But I mean, he lost his family over coming out of retirement for one season.
And a crappy season at that.
Right. So it's like,
That wasn't a reason for her to leave.
it really wasn't.
It had to be more than that.
That's what the
You don't
media.
leave your rock, a man that you love, because he made a decision to actually do more, something that he loves that we all know is temporary. I mean, it's not forever, for real. It's just like it had to be more. I know Denisha knows why. Tell us.
No, I don't know, but I would have to agree. We can't have hard ultimatums, and this life is so unpredictable. And when there is something that you love, meaning your significant other, and I respect them, even if I have a hell of a career and she is an amazing, beautiful model, there are opportunities that let's work together. And we're in a position where we could get a nanny. Let's get some help. So I would have to agree it had to be something more. Even if I agreed to, end the season, I would have to say, baby, come on. I thought that I wanted to end it, but can we talk about this?
But could it have been like from the perspective of that she felt like she has sacrificed her career so much for Tom Brady, and now she's just ready for him to be home, to be with the kids, and she just couldn't deal with the whole football life anymore.
One
Because
more
it's
year.
a lot that comes with
did she
being.
really sacrifice though? Because at one point,
I mean, she was a supermodel.
I
but
never
at
seen her
one
with
point,
him.
she was worth 3 times Tom Brady's money. Like she was still being a supermodel. She was still Giselle at the end of the day. So I don't think it's that she sacrificed so much because she's still that bitch. Excuse my language, but I think for her, she just wanted him home.
It feels like we made this agreement that
Right.
this was going to be the end, and then you went against the agreement. It feels that way,
Right.
right?
Like a cheat. I
And
feel like
so-
he cheated on her with another season.
Like,
But okay, so let's pose this question, right? Because I know Shannon Sharp, he said the reason why he hasn't gotten married and he's about to be 55 is because he put his career first. Like his football career was number one priority. So could it have been too that Tom put football over family because it happens?
100%. I think so.
But how do you juggle that? How do you balance that?
You gotta have a rock. You gotta have.
so what do you say to the young men that are playing that might say, you know what, I don't want to get married. I don't want to be serious until after my career is over. What are the pros and cons?
Oh man. I think that's a great way to do it, but you really don't know the person until you really done. So if somebody done did their homework on you and just waiting on you to retire so they can just you still might have a bad apple, you know. So I tell them they have to just date and you gotta have a real good friend, somebody you call. You know how they say, oh, that's my sister. And they have you somebody like your sister just every step of the way because you need somebody to block off the. They're gonna come when you say you're done. It's like you have to pray and keep God first and keep good people around you to see who's for you.
Sounds like for you, you would rather go through the journey with someone and really feel the ups and downs and have that progression in your lives with each other rather than, go through this successful career all by yourself, finish it, and then you're like, okay, who am I picking?
I mean, Dwayne and I didn't get married until post-career. So we were together his whole entire career, and we didn't get married till afterwards. But when we think about Giselle and Tom, it was the same thing with Bowe and I because he was at the height, a first-round draft pick. Then he got like the big contract. It was like the highest paid wide receiver. It was like all of these things. Amigos started hanging around him. Little Wayne was checking for him. And I'm sitting at home as the baby mother at the time, like, oh. But I was like, who am I to like block his blessings and not let him live his best life because we're in a relationship? I have to pretty much grow with him unless we're going to grow apart. And I think when it comes to Giselle and Tom, it's the same thing. It's like, support your man like you said I do. That's supposed to be forever. It's like we're supposed to go through these things. We're not supposed to just quit. And that's why so many relationships fail. One little thing go wrong, it's like, okay, it's over. But it was hard. But I had to let him grow and let him come. Beyonce called me. Beyonce, you hear me? If Beyonce called me, I wish my husband would say, don't go. Or don't do something that
Get them
I love.
tickets.
Like, seriously. It's like, you've got to let the person grow.
Okay, so on that, we always talk about being in relationships and the time limit, right? So if I'm with this man, I can't see myself being with him for 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and we're still not married. Where do so you were with him his entire career, because we've talked about this, and he wasn't ready, or what was it?
Who set the time, though? I want to, like, where does the time come
Where
from?
did time come from? Like,
That's why I think people have to get that out because that's an imaginary
So
demon.
let me tell you where the time comes from. The time comes from my prime years, my good life, my ability to, if you're not ready, then let me leave. Let me keep it pushing because there may be somebody who is ready.
But forever. You know how long that is? Like, just think about forever. If you're going into any relationship with that mindset of forever, it's like your prime, your non-prime, your big time, your small times, your all times. It's like you're going to be with that partner. So I think like so many people think about the physical, and it's so much deeper than that when it's real.
So that's a good point. But how about if I'm sitting here and I opportunity for you to go out and sow your royal oats is what you're doing while I sit here and I be this meek, humble, wonderful, be all end all in your home. And then you wait because you realize maybe for you, I don't want anything else that's out there, but for him, you are just an option.
But do you think about when you say sit at home and like we're doing all of these things, and I think that's what happens with women, they lose their selves because they're sitting at home and they're waiting and they're not doing nothing else. So if you continue to live your life, enjoy your friends, enjoy your family, open your business, go to work, go to school,
Stop.
do something for yourself, he's not going to be the only thing that makes you move and you're going to be okay. So waiting
Right.
is not going to even be a thought. So when it comes to Bowe and I, back to Tammy Reed, her talking about marriage and like just like the dynamics of a home life. I was sitting in these meetings as the baby mother at the time, and I felt this small because I was like, dang, what's wrong with me? I'm looking at all of these other women that was wives, and I felt like they weren't half the woman I was because I'm doing so much. And I'm like, dang, like something is wrong with me. So I went home and I started pressuring him to marry me. And I was like, what's wrong? Like, what's up? Like, why are we not married? We got a kid. We live together. Like, you asked me to move in. I done gave up this and blah, blah, blah. And him being the good man that he is, guess what he did? Called the jeweler and flew the jeweler to Kansas City. So I pick out this big, beautiful ring. You know what I mean? Like, nothing about us is traditional. He pays for the ring. He sent a guy on his way. I got this ring on my finger. He didn't even ask me to marry him. He just like, here, put the ring on. So I'm like, I got me a ring, honey. Like, I'm about to be a fiance. And I called his friend that was a girl. And I'm thinking she's about to be excited. So I was like, girl, look, don't call me Beyonce. Call me fiance. And this girl just started crying. And those tears wasn't tears of like, yes, those tears was like, what the hell is he doing? Because he's not ready. And it took the mature woman in me to see that. And I couldn't sleep that night. And I took the ring off my finger. I woke up the next morning and I was like, listen, I know we're not ready. Yeah. And he was like, girl, put that ring back on. I was like, nah, we're not ready. I flew the ring back to Miami. And my son was probably like 2 years old. And literally we didn't get married until my daughter was born or whatever. And they're 5 years apart. But I just knew, you got to know that the person is ready. And I knew he wasn't ready, but I just wanted this because I thought society, I had to do it because society was dictating this. That's why you got to be a leader. You cannot follow what people, I'm serious, like you cannot be a follower and be successful at anything.
And get a ring, you gotta, like, this your partner, this your.
I done told her dirt, y'all.
But I think that is key that you said for people, because there's a lot of women who you sit, you have no resume, you have nothing more to offer than what you're doing in the home. So for you to make that point that it wasn't as though you were just sitting, you were, up doing your own thing and, living your life. And so for you, the time where we say forever, we're here forever, that forever was, you were optimizing your time.
So how is it for you, Dwayne? Because now you're retired and Theresa is still going full speed ahead. Like, and it's like the roles are reversed because you're not, you're, like she said, you're 100% dad and husband and all of these good things. And Theresa's like businesswoman. So how does that work for you?
The roles have reversed. And, for me, watching her over the years do it with no complaining, with no, you gonna do, like she never did that. So now she's the runner. She's out making all the plays, and now I get to sit back and don't complain and go pick the kids up, take them to eat, get their hair done. I watched her do it, so I had a great role model. And it's easy for me. A lot of people don't have role models. My wife is my role model.
Do you cook dinner?
Excellent.
But do you think you had to like adjust to that though? Like now, like the roles did flip.
Definitely, it was definitely an adjustment. Once your phone stopped ringing and everybody stopped pulling you, you can zoom in on your priorities. And once I seen her do it, it was like, if she can do it, I can do it. I just follow her role, and I think I've been doing a good job at it.
Different because, I'm the cooker for the most part. I'm like the woman in the house. And it's different when he was working and out. Like he would come home to a cooked meal every single night. And if I'm out all day long, he's, he cooks, but he's not a cooker like that, where it's like a every night thing. So he wants me to come home sometime and still cook. After I'm out to 8 o'clock, he's like, what we eating? I'm like, wait, what we what?
You're like,
What
what
we
are you
eat?
making? Tell me.
So it's been challenging to a certain extent when it comes to me having the balance, and even being girlfriends with Denisha, and her putting things in my ear. You got to stay around people that is going to help you grow and be balanced, because she's like, girl, you better go home and honey, drop them drawers or whatever, and make sure you do what you do. Don't forget. I'm like, damn, I'm tired though, Denisha. She like, listen. I'm like, okay, so is women that have where I'm going. Like, she's been married for a really long time, so surrounding yourself with people that are where you want to go is important. So I do thank you for all of your advice. Like, you have an amazing marriage, and like, you're an amazing wife, and you're a businesswoman. So you have to find somebody that can model where you want to be and where you're going. So thank you again.
Yes. I want to say something about your wife, though. I have watched her, to your point, the admiration that I have for Theresa, just seeing her as a go-getter, seeing her, the way she communicates with people. It's a different kind of leader that is able to communicate, really listen. And Theresa is that. I have watched her build, Don't Touch Me, the way that across the country you got women together and they were in a space and were vulnerable. I want you to just share what Don't Touch Me is all about.
Don't Touch Me is an amazing platform where I'm teaching women, I'm teaching men, I'm teaching kids how to speak up and use their voice. More importantly, boundaries. So many times, things happen to us when we think about police brutality, when we think about bullying in school, when we think about child abuse as a whole. It starts with boundaries. Like, a lot of us have not been taught simple boundaries. Like, when my kids play and my daughter says no and my son just keep going, I didn't even realize that's boundaries. That's a line that should not be crossed. And it's just teaching them, as my example, your sister said no. That means no, stop. So I'm so adamant in my home about making sure that he respects that, because what happens when he's in college and that girl says no, and he's thinking like, she don't really mean that. Look at me. It's like, you have to teach them that. So Don't Touch Me is so amazing, because so many parents don't know how or when or where to talk to their kids, what age. They think it's too young. I'm afraid to say sex. I'm afraid. You can't be afraid. Like, you should be afraid, because it's not a matter of when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when. So it's just getting in front of child abuse, getting in front of like anything that can potentially go wrong amongst kids. So I'm excited, guys. If you don't know about Don't Touch Me, find out about it. Help save a child. If it's not your child, someone else's child, is important, because we can change the trajectory of like so many children's futures.
So there's one thing that I learned about Theresa, learned from you, that I hold dear, and it is not just wanting to be in the forefront, but being someone that is truly supportive. And you were an accomplished athlete. You went to college on a track scholarship, and you've shared the story before about you don't always have to be the one that comes in first. A team is made up of different players, and all of those players have a role. Can you just share that with, some of the people out here that might feel like they're in a supporting role, to people, and how valuable that is? Not everyone has to be the star or the person that comes in.
My husband and I was talking about this, but my motto is, you don't have to be in first place to win. And so many people just look at first place as like the accolade, like if you're not there, you're losing, and it's not true. So even like I always tell people, when I met Denisha, like, she is a person that have come in first place a lot. I'm a person that never came in first place, and like she said, I got a scholarship to Kansas City full ride by being on the track relay. So that alone taught me 4 legs to a race. I was the weakest link, but because of the 3 women that was attached to me, they pulled me along, and I got looked at, and I got a scholarship because of who I was attached to. That at a young age taught me how powerful it is to team up with people that can actually pull you along. So when we think about when we think about the Chiefs, the first name that comes to our head is Patrick Mahomes. We probably don't know who the wide receiver is or the quarterback. The running backs and all the other positions. People just keen in on the star player, but all the other people play a major role. And if you are out there and you're not feeling like you're in first place or you're not winning, you have to just pay attention to what you're contributing, because it's like, it takes parts to be a whole. It takes a whole entire team to win. And it's like, some people want to win, just the game, or like how you would say, you want to win the championship. You got to really put yourself in position to do that.
mentality.
Ricky Bobby.
Seriously.
But that's like a big thing in America. People always say that quote, if you're not first, you're last. And that's a big thing to actually have somebody say out loud, like, okay, you can win and still be part of a team, like, as we see all the time. So why would you even suggest that you have to be first place all the time?
Dark skinned girl. Now, I always talk about this because, I'm sitting next to my amazing athlete husband that's super fine. But it's just like a lot of people didn't put me as the black girl with him. It's times we'll go place and they're like, that's his wife or that's his girl. And it's because I'm dark skinned. He's not going to stay with her. She's dark skinned. And had I let society dictate what they thought he was supposed to have, I would have been left behind in the dust because insecurities happen. How them insecurities will cause me to start treating him differently because I'm insecure. And now I don't want you to go outside. I don't want you to do this. It's just a lot of things. So it's just so many things that can happen just by when what you tune your ear into and like what you let get into your head, into your heart, and you let it resurrect. So it's like you can't listen to the naysayers.
You have a lot of confidence, right? It is exuding in this room. But that is so hard for many people to find that within themselves. So what was it like? Where was that moment in your life where you just knew that Theresa was going to be that boss and that was it? Like what catapulted you there?
I mean, when I left New York and I escaped child abuse and nobody knew, like I knew why I was leaving. Mm-hmm. So it was just like the strength that I had to escape that because I'm the youngest of 8 children. I watched all of my sisters and brothers go through it. Childhood, pregnancies, jail, all of the things. And I'm like, dang, I don't want to be like them. And everybody counted me out. I was the last kid. Oh, she's gonna be a teen mom. She's gonna do all of the things that, I was like, I'm not gonna be that. So when I just ran, so track was my outlet. I ran and ran and ran, got a scholarship. And I was just like, listen, just keep going. And when I tell you, when you think about the story of Abraham Lincoln, like how it was failure, 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 if he would have stopped, like he would have never made presidency. Like he failed up until he was president. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how my life was. It was like nothing was going right. It was like failure, failure, failure. And I just kept going. So all of those failures was wins because it taught me. And I think my strength and my confidence come from that. I know you don't have to be the prettiest, woman in the room to be viewed as the prettiest woman in the room. I know, like, I don't let my looks, I don't let what I have, I never let any of those things dictate or, just exude over who I naturally am.
Nice.
Okay, so let's start setting the record straight, right? Let's set it straight. So we know, Bowe, you are a rapper as well. You are highly into entertainment, into music. Now, there was a comment made about 2 songs, okay? Wanna Rock, right, by Lil Uzi Vert versus Meek Mill's Dream and Nightmare. They said, allegedly, DJ Drama said that Wanna Rock is now the new anthem for Philly over Dreams and Nightmare. Now, you into music. So what's your opinion on that? What's your view on that? Because,
oh, man.
be honest.
100%, that is not the case for our generation. But as far as short-minded, what's like them reels, everything is like right now. So I think they put this one song in this frequency to capture all these kids, to make them want to just dance and not even be productive anymore. It's people just sitting around just dancing to this song and they don't even go to school. They ain't got no job. It's like it's something in that song that's making people. I'm serious.
Do the dance, Bowe. Do the dance.
But I do with my son, but it's something in that song that's making people really. I don't know what it is. I don't listen to it, but it will never replace Dreams and Nightmares. That's our generation. When they play that, it shuts the club down. I just don't get the new generation with this song, I guess.
So when we talk about music, you are a rap lead. Mm-hmm. You self-proclaimed. You transitioned from the NFL to having a rap career. How did this get started?
I was always into music, but I never really showed it because when you at a level that I was, you really couldn't show certain things. Like I didn't have an Instagram, I didn't have none of that. So I did all my stuff undercover, which I think helped my career because if I would have showed that I was this kind of rap lead while I was playing, the coaches probably would have thought I was being distracted, being pulled. But it was my first love was music. Like before I even touched the football, and when I was done, I was like, let me just do what I love to do, and actually pretty good at it.
So do you think the music today is trash?
100%. It's no substance. It's all about frequencies and going viral. It's not about. They need more love song. We need more love in the world. Like all this dancing and B word and the N word. It just tearing us down as a whole. I think if we get back to like R&B and more like positive music, that's why I make like positive music with great frequencies. And I think if we get back to that, I think we'd be okay.
Do you believe that conscious rap is not something that labels really want to put out there? Music that is going to make a people think or make a
Yeah.
people, like you say, have a higher frequency?
Higher vibration. I think they want to keep everybody asleep. And I think just like the Jay-Z and the Nas and the Kendricks, they do their thing and then they get in the background because they was really saying some real stuff.
Right.
And once them gatekeepers told them like, you got to stop talking about that. We need to talk about this. And once he knew to stop. All those guys, like I said, when you get that much money, you know when to stop when they had that meeting with you. But the young guys, they don't know when to stop. They're going to keep going. They're going to keep spinning. They're going to keep killing. They're going to keep, just because that's what the labels want. They want to depopulate our generation with the music, and that's what they're doing.
So do you think with the current trend of music now, it affects your craft and what you actually be wanting to put out?
100%. That's why I feel like if I can't get in the majors, I'm not even, I have my fan base. I have my guys who listen to my music, and they're motivated. They're positive. They're great fathers, great daddies. That's all I want. But for the mass, if you being heard by the mass, you have to say certain things that's gonna make these young guys do something different. And I'm not the one that's gonna
Right.
push that.
So I was watching the Grammys last night, and they did this hip hop tribute because hip hop is 50 years old, and it went all the way back from like the 70s all the way into now, and they had Rakim and they had Big Boy, they had like everybody on there, Salt and Pepper, like everybody's on the stage, and I'm listening to it, and then you see like as it goes down, and then you get to Lil Uzi Vert at the end with his one song. And I've listened to the song, and I don't think he really says a lot in the song. It's probably like 4 words. Right. Just like not a lot. But all these other rappers, they're speaking real stuff. And then you get to the end of the Grammys, and Jay-Z performed the DJ Khaled song, which at that point, it's really Jay-Z's song. Like, I think like Lil Wayne and Rick Ross were just on there as filler. No disrespect to them, but they gave their little 16 bars, and then Jay just went on. And I'm listening. I was like, was this verse always this long? But you're listening to the words, and it's crazy. And I'm like, oh, this man needs to put out another album because we need music like that.
Yes. Well, guys, hate to wrap up this episode. It's been real. Do you guys have any parting thoughts? Where can our viewers and our listeners reach you, find you, follow you?
At _Moneyball, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. And my lovely wife, Miss Theresa, the real Theresa Bowe, on all platforms.
Guys, listen to his music. Seriously. I mean, my husband is so talented, and his music is so amazing. And, like we just talked about, just the genre of music and just how things are is just so different. I feel like he should be like Meek Mills, like that status for real. Like, you're so dope.
Thank you,
I
baby.
want the world to know it. No, seriously, his music is amazing.